Hi there, everybody. It's Brody. And today we're going to tech my deck. We're going to be heading out to an event this evening to play a little bit of Commander Fun. And I thought, what would be more fun than to share with you folks exactly what it is I'm playing in Commander and let you guys have a look and let you guys tech my deck. So if you ever wanted to see what I'm playing, now's the time to do it. So as far as commanders go, I'm running partners. This is Rograk and Scylla's Wren. A lot of people refer to this type of deck as Grixis or Rog Sai. So I've got these two commanders. I'm interested in the colors, and I might want to think about switching up commanders. I do like the partner mechanic. I've been kind of trying it just to see what it's like playing with a 98 card deck. And this commander is pretty much free because he's got a 0/1 for Rograk, Son of Raga. He's a first strike menace, 0/1. He's got partner and he's none to cast. So he comes onto the battlefield as soon as you want him to. And then the other artifact card that I'm running is Silas Wren, Seeker Adept. He's the partner as well. He's a 2/2 legendary artifact creature. He's a human. He's a black, a blue, and a colorless. Now, the legendary artifact ability was made aware by one of my best buddies in the play group. That's actually really relevant in this deck. A lot of people have tried to tell me that Ren is just there for your colors and he doesn't really do much, but I figured as a 2/2 Death Touch, legendary artifact creature, I want to try and make this work for me. Also, I have when Silas Ren, Seeker Adept, enters combat, deals combat damage to a player, choose target artifact card in your graveyard. You may cast that card this turn. And of course, he's got the partner mechanic on it. Death Touch, really good blocker. So we've got Rograk and Silas Ren, Rog and Sai. We're going to put them up in the corner here. I've got a few cards that I'm sort of on the fence. I've been in and out of. One of the cards that I'm considering putting in the deck because I don't have a Ragavan, I may pick it up this evening, is this card, Hammer Mage. It's an interesting card. I every time I put it out, people seem to kill it right away, so they don't like it. It means something to me. It tells me that it's good. It's from Mercadian Mass Block. It's a 1/1. It costs 1 red and 1 for this 1/1 Spell Shaper. And the Hammer Mage is an interesting ability on it. You can pay X in a red, tap it, discard a card from your hand. So any card, you get the discard ability. And we're going to see how that may come into play with some of the other cards I'm running in this deck. It's not a net deck version, but the shell of it is sort of what you're going to see on MTG Top 8 as far as the Rog and Silas Ren build. He's got this ability, a red X and tap, discard a card from your hand, destroy all artifacts with converted mana cost X or less. When he's holding a hammer, everything looks like a nail. I'm playing this card to try and get something out of Silas Ren. Of course, I'm going to probably be paying 0, a red, and discarding a card that I want to get back from the bin with Goblin Welder. And then I'm going to destroy all 0 drops, try and find an opponent that has an open uh, cheeks open, and I can go in for an attack with Silas Ren. And then after I'm done blowing up all the artifacts that I've spent my mana out of on my main phase, all the 0 drops, the opals, the crypts, the lotus petals, any of the 0 mana artifacts, then I can go ahead and swing in with Silas Ren, recast mine during my second main phase, and then actually get to use them again. So another way to untap your artifacts or at least get something back and use that second ability on Silas Ren. The deck I'm running right now has 25 lands in it. I'll give you a look at the land base. It's a fairly low mana base. If you think that's too few, let me know. But this deck has got a really low casting cost, and I'm trying to run something similar to the balance of lands in the net decks. We got a Steam Vents. That's for my red blue sources. Gemstone Caverns, a card that I have a few copies of, and it's a kind of a gamble whether to put this card in. I've played with it a lot, and it definitely adds a little bit of something to be desired if you don't have it in your opening hand. So the Gemstone Caverns, I'm kind of on the fence about running that. I kind of think maybe I should cut it. It's you got to be really lucky, but if we're going to play the odds and try and see if we're going to open our hand up with uh, with a little bit of luck and get that Gemstone Caverns to seal the play. Then maybe we'll keep including it. Ottawara, the city, Soaring City. This has been a really strong land card. I've enjoyed playing it. It's hard to interact with people threatening to win the game with their commander on board. This allows you to pitch Ottawara, discard the Soaring City, and then you return an artifact, creature, enchantment, or planeswalker to the battlefield. Pay one less to cast for each legendary creature you control. And of course, Raga works really well with Ottawara because he's going to be on the battlefield right away if we need him to, reducing the casting cost of that Ottawara by 1. Scalding Tarn, that's something we can go fetch out the Steam Vance with. Command Tower, mana producing land that gets us any color we need. Another fetch land, Bloodstained Mire. The Volcanic Island, of course, you got to have some good mana base in your commander decks that are playing multicolor. I think I'm running about 5 fetch lands. One of the fetch lands I don't have is the Arid Mesa, but I do happen to have the Delta, the Scalding Tarn, the Bloodstained Mire in here. I've been trying to run a copy of the Mishra's Workshop, and I'll show you why in a little bit. I'm on a bit of an artifact line that I think this can be kind of useful for. Making 3 mana on turn 1 seems pretty good. City of Brass, it taps for a mana of any color. Of course, you got to take a damage. Forbidden Orchard, another fixing. As you notice, I don't have a lot of basics in here. In fact, I think I have none at all. So it might be a vulnerability there to something like Back to Basics or Choke. But nevertheless, the Forbidden Orchard taps for any color of mana, fixes our mana pool up pretty nicely. And then we can give our opponent a Spirit token, a 1/1. So that's a utility land. March Flats, another fetch land. Gets us our swamp or a plains. Badlands. Of course, that's the Rakdos dual land. And Mount Doom. See, here's the card that goes really well with Silas Ren. Mount Doom, some hotness from the new Lord of the Rings set. I like the interaction with these two. As far as Mount Doom goes, is legendary land. You can pay a life and get a red or a black out of it. A black, red, and 1 tap it deals 1 damage to each opponent, so you can chip away at your opponent's life total. But this other ability for 7, a black, red, and 5, sacrifice Mount Doom and a legendary artifact. Choose up to 2 creatures, then destroy the rest. So I think it's a board wipe. Silas Ren is actually a legendary creature artifact, so he qualifies. He's Silas Ren. He's in the deck. He's going to run up Mount Doom and jump into the volcano, give us a board wipe on a body. So that's our legendary artifact that we have. Of course, if I was running the One Ring, another card I just haven't pinned down and got a copy of it, I really should get it for this deck. Mount Doom, City of Traders from the couch. Of course, the only copy to play is the one that got stuck in the couch when we were moving. Another fetch land, Flooded Strand, Underground Sea for the black-blue mana, and an Urza Saga. This saga's pretty strong. It's new to me. I was holding off on purchasing a couple of cards that were hot. And if some people say, "Oh, why are you being so cheap, Brody?" I have never bought a Ragavan. I had never bought an Urza Saga until this one over the holiday season. I've never bought a Fury or any of the elemental cards. I try and open them, but unfortunately, the Ragavan, the Saga, the Fury, and a few others from the newer sets or something that's eluded me. I wanted to play this in lands with the Echoing Deeps. I think it's pretty good. It can make constructs, so artifacts matter in your deck, so that seems pretty powerful. Xander's Lounge. So basic, or it's got the 3 land types on it. Not a lot of people running the triomes, but I like them because, well, it's cheap and they fix your mana. I got a few of them from Capenna. I wish I had opened more of these. Really strong land. They're fetchable. They fix your mana up and you can cycle it. I've even found myself discarding that to draw a card later in the game when it was less useful to me. Blood Crypt, another shock land. The Watery Grave. Of course, we know these are coming back in Ravnica again now that we're going back, but I did buy enough of the Ravnica set, the Ravnica Allegiance, I think it is, to get enough copies of Shocklands and able to make the deck viable or play modern. Misty Rainforest. It reminds me, I'm looking for a copy of Stifle to put in this deck. I know I have it somewhere. And then this card, Reflecting Pools. This card has definitely got a really nice art on it. If you can see the foil Reflecting Pool is really, really quite nice. I posted a video up the other day This is an older foil that I think is definitely worth looking at in person because it has a really nice shine to it, nice art, and a couple of little spirity bulbs, little orbs, gemstones in there that really make the art pop. Ancient Tomb, I got a playset of these instead of a playset of City of Traders once a time. It's not doing so great, but at least I have the Pain lands and the Sol lands for the deck. And I'm also running a copy of Dust Bowl, and I'll let you know why. Our meta is kind of combo where we are. So I don't know how prolific combo is where you are, but there's several soft combos in the deck that can sort of get you a soft lock. I have this in the deck mainly for shutting off people who have things like Gaia's Cradle and some of the lands that are just too hard to deal with. It's better off to have a way to deal with uh, a land that's super powerful, like a Tabernacle. I am have the Tabernacle on the side here. I'm reluctant to see whether or not I play it or not. It's a stacks piece. It seems really powerful, but against a Dust Bowl, it's really no match. Okay, so there's the mana base. That's 25. It's debatable whether I'll put the Tabernacle in because I am running a few creatures now. I can usually pay their upkeep costs. I don't have a problem with that. It becomes more of a problem for other people who are playing stacks or who are playing go wide creature strategies, especially elves. The Tabernacle at Pendrell Vale can really slow those players down, even if they're playing Edric and they're trying to ramp out a lot of creatures and draw a lot of cards. We want to make them pay for that so that we don't get overrun. So here's our mana base. How are you enjoying teching my deck with me so far? Have I got enough lands? Have I got too few? Or have I got too many? Have I got the right ones? I'm considering entering a couple of basics in here somewhere, but most of the competitive decks that I see don't play too many basics. All right, let's get into the shell of the deck of what I call it. It's sort of a Ren and Silas shell. So we're playing to get some extra turns as well. But I mean, myself, a lot of the decks run Warrior's Oath in order to take an extra turn as well as Final Fortune, but they're not running this deck the way I'm doing it. I'm trying to get those extra turns and then run some interaction with this card here, Sundial of the Infinite. So sort of a soft combo. This is a way to get around losing on that extra turn. This 2-mana artifact. You can pay 1 and tap it until end of turn and activate it during your turn. Exile all spells on the stack. Discard down to your maximum hand size, and then damage wears off. And this turn and end of turn effects wear off and end. So you can stop your turn at any time during your turn with this, and even on your extra turn when you're about to lose, when you go to your end step with the Final Fortune. So the Sundial is sort of a soft combo that I've got in the deck. You can see another one of the main combos here sitting on top. I've also got some Goblin Welder targets here to show you folks my 2 targets. Of course, I'm going to be running the Silas Ren deck. Runs a lot of wheels, so I figured the Memory Jar is another colorless wheel that I can welder for if I can't pay the 5 mana. But the Mishra's Workshop's definitely gonna help cast that Memory Jar. With the Workshop and a Mana Crypt, you can turn 1 Memory Jar. 5 mana isn't that hard to come by these days. There's ways to do it. Dark Ritual. And the Platinum Angel I have in here as another welder target. This is more or less the emergency brake that's built into the deck. So another reason I'd like to run the Hammer Mage, because you can discard a card at instant speed if he's on board, if he's online. You can pitch him, tap, discard a card. So if you don't want to get the angel in the bin and you don't want your opponents to see it, you need a way to discard it at instant speed. And that's why I'm sort of leaning towards this Hammer Mage to be able to pitch a card at instant speed, that being the Platinum Angel if my opponent's going to go off, and then we can go get our Goblin Welder. If we have the Welder on board, then we can welder the Angel into play at instant speed. Here's a Sophie. Excuse me. Sophie, what do you think so far? Out of the decks that I've seen running Rograk and Silas Ren, most of them don't have a lot of equipment. If they do, it's the Conqueror's Flail, and all that does is give the creature a +1/+1 buff. So it doesn't make Rograk all that much of a threat, even though he's going to be on board very early. I found getting a sword on him of some kind is probably a good idea. Is this the right one? Sword of Fire and Ice. It's pretty strong. It gets protection from red and from blue. Green might be another choice, maybe the Sword of Body in mind, but I've picked this sword to run with and see how it does. At least that way, if games go long and get chippy, and people say they shouldn't go long, but sometimes you can get into a bit of a tic-tac-toe situation, and having a sword on a first strike menace trample creature might just be able to get the job done for you. This is a card that I'm interested to play with. Since running Mishra's Workshop, we can turn one. We have a pretty explosive turn one with Urza's Battlethopter, the Liberator. That's right, Liberator. The Liberator is a pretty interesting card. It's a 3-mana 1/2 with flyer, and it's flash, and when you cast a colorless spell or an artifact spell, you can cast your colorless spells and your artifact spells with flash. So if we get this in the workshop in our first hand, we can probably just put workshop on the table and then wait until the turn goes around to our opponent's end step. Then we can flash in the Battlethopter on our opponent's end step right before we take our turn, so that way we're not showing too much of our hand. Then if we've got any cards that are Mana Rocks, Lotus Petal, Mana Crypt, Mox Opal, we can flash those in on opponent's end step so they don't get to see them and get that information out of our hand. And of course, that way we're holding more cards in our hand and it looks like we're holding something up, or maybe not doing anything at all. We can untap during our turn and then start off with those Mana Rocks, Urza's Liberator, Urza's Battlethopter in play, and it's a flyer, so it does block quite nicely. The Wishclaw Talisman, there's several Wish cards in this deck. The tutors, Vampiric Tutor, Demonic Tutor, and the Wishclaw Talisman. I think you folks probably know what this does, but I'm trying to keep with the Commander theme of actually having some politics go around the table. If you can make a deal with somebody to give them the Wishclaw and then give it back, that's a way to make friends at the table. Crucible of Worlds. All right. Get the invention style. Crucible of Worlds. This is another one that plays right off of the Mishra's Workshop, 3 mana. You can play lands from your graveyard. If you might have noticed the Dust Bowl, this one, sack a land, destroy target non-basic land. The Dust Bowl and the Crucible of Worlds, a bit of a soft lock, soft combo. A little bit of synergy, they work together. And it's not a bad thing to be able to play lands from your graveyard, even if you've got a fetch in there. It's never a bad time to be able to play those land cards from your graveyard. Another piece of equipment here, this is the one I was talking about, Conqueror's Flail. 2 mana for this artifact equipment. The equipped creature gets 1/1 for each color amongst permanents you control. So we're probably only going to have 3 colors of permanents. Between Silas Ren, if he's on the board, that's 2, and Rograk, he's 3. So best this can give Rograk is +3/+3, but it's the second part of the card that really makes it powerful. This is in the hands of the Grand Abolisher. If you look at the art on the Grand Abolisher, I believe this is the card he's holding, the Flail. As long as the flail is attached to a creature, your opponents can't cast spells during your turn. 2 to equip it. I cut Defense Grid from the deck because I had a buddy of mine say Defense Grid pretty much just puts everybody at the table open for a combo to go off. So I'm trying the Conqueror's Flail, and then I substituted the Defense Grid for a sword. And of course, we've got some Mana Rocks in the deck here. This other card here, Soul Ring, definitely know what that is. Got to have one in each commander deck. This card here actually tilted an opponent not too long ago. Crystal Shard. It plays right off the workshop. It's 3 mana. And this is something that'll make your opponents think twice about tapping out and playing their commander on their first turn. You can pay 3 to tap it, or a blue and tap it, and return target creature to its owner's hand unless they pay 1. This can target your own stuff. So if you've got a creature on board that you want to bounce to your hand rather than have it get destroyed by one of your opponents, this can rescue your things. It can also bounce your opponents if they're tapped out of mana. You can put their commander back in their hand. It makes them think about twice about tapping out, and it's pretty versatile. I'm considering adding Fury to the deck. I do want to put a copy of Fury in the deck so I can evoke him and then put this on the stack to return him to my hand before I have to sacrifice him. We'll see how that goes, or if I just hard cast Fury, and then I can return him to my hand and do it again. So I'll give that a go, and maybe I might think of cutting the Crystal Shard. You think it's underpowered? Let me know in the comments. Felwar Stone, of course, a Mana Rock. This one taps for mana of any color that opponent's lands can play. Pretty safe mana source that you can get off on turn 1 with a Soul Ring to fix your mana up. A bunch of rocks. We've got a Chrome Mox here for 0. So that, again, we can flash in with the Liberator, Urza's Battlethopter, and a Grim Monolith. I figure I'd add the Grim Monolith because it's not in any other decks. Infinite mana seems to be pretty powerful. If you want to look to see if I have a mana outlet to go infinite with, I can't remember putting one in the deck. It might be something that I should consider doing. I was going to add Stroke of Genius or something that can just mill your opponent out. If I can make infinite mana with the Grim Monolith, I'm planning on doing that with the Power Artifact, which I have in the deck here too. Mana Crypt, 0 mana artifact, comes in off Liberator on your opponent's turn, as well as the Lotus Petal. I guess the Dream Hand is turn 1 Workshop with a colored mana source, and then the Liberator and a couple of rocks, and then something that I can go to my turn 2 with a nice big board of 0 cast artifacts and play them in. If I can cast the Chrome Mox during my opponent's turn, I can cast the Lotus Petal off of it during my opponent's turn, and I can also cast a Soul Ring during my opponent's turn, because nobody likes that turn 1 Soul Ring, except when it's on your opponent's turn. So even if you're playing first, it goes around the table, and if you can hold up Soul Ring and not be that guy that turn 1's it, let somebody else get mental misstepped, and then you can ship your Soul Ring into play on your opponent's end step. Arcane Signet, and this card here, Torpor Orb. So this would be a bit of a non-bow piece. If you notice, I got Thassa's Oracle hanging out over here with the Demonic Consultation. But this is just so powerful, people don't see it coming. I'm also playing the Sundial of the Infinite to end the turn before any of these bad ETVs go off. So the Torpor Orb sort of does the same thing when we're playing cards like this Phyrexian Dreadnought. Phyrexian Dreadnought, if you may have heard of it, it's a 1 mana 12/12 with trample. That's pretty incredible, but it has this really bad ETB on it that says when Dreadnought comes into play, sacrifice any number of creatures with total power 12 or more, or else you're going to bury the Dreadnought. So Dreadnought gets shut off with a Torpor Orb. If I can Sundial, I can also end the turn before I have to pay the 12 sacrifice to the Phyrexian Dreadnought. Of course, the Torpor Orb shuts down my opponent, and it's an upside for me with cards like Dreadnought. All right, we get into some combo pieces here. Another 0 mana artifact, the Mox Diamond. A lot of decks don't run it, but the Lion's Eye Diamond is definitely something that people are going to run. It's one of our engines for our combo piece that we're going to see coming up in a minute here. Once we get to this other stack, we're just going through the mana base, the mana rocks, the lands, and to see what we got in there. There's a Mana Vault. We've also got a Mox Opal. This one's courtesy of Twiddler's Place. Got this one in a Double Masters opening. It was pretty great. So another 0 mana rock. So lots of artifacts. I think I'm trying to offset the low mana base count of 25 lands on this side with enough mana rocks and to be able to be viable. Mox Amber, I haven't stumbled on lands yet. It doesn't feel clunky. Mox Amber definitely goes with Raga, and he turns on the Mox Amber right away. All right, so let's get into some of the combo pieces that we have in this deck here. Most of the combos that you're going to see are going to be running Thassa's Oracle. Of course, I think you know what this card does. It's the Merfolk 1/3. It doesn't have flash, so you have to cast it during your main phase. It's got 2 blue for casting cost. When it enters the battlefield, you look at the top X cards of your library, where X is your devotion to blue, and put up to one of those cards on top of your library and the rest on the bottom in any order. If X is greater than or equal to the number of cards in your library, you win the game. So Thassa's Oracle, I'm just looking for another card that goes well with Thassa's Oracle, because there's a couple of different ways to do this. With a recent card called Born Upon a Wind, it's been quite good, allowing people to play at flash speed. So the only time you're going to be able to play the Thassa's Oracle during your opponent's turn is if you resolve this card. It's almost best to wait until your opponents are done dickering around resolving counter spells, and then before all that happens, you want to flash this in, cast the Born Upon a Wind at instant speed. You may cast spells this turn as though they have flash, and then you get to draw a card. So the only way to really play the Thassa's Oracle in your opponent's turn is with Born Upon a Wind. But let's say we're playing it during your turn. We're going to hold up Tainted Pact. This is another card that you can play at instant speed while Thassa's Oracle is on the stack, hasn't entered the battlefield. And this one's going to go ahead and turn your whole library into your graveyard. So it's actually going to exile cards rather than Consultation, where I think, yeah, that exiles it too. So we're planning on getting rid of our library to win the game snap with Thassa's Oracle with this combo. Tainted Pack is instant speed. It's part of the package here. Exile the top card of your library. You may put that card into your hand unless it has the same name as another card exiled this way. Repeat this process until you put a card into your hand or you exile 2 cards with the same name. Well, we know we're not going to hit 2 cards with the same name because, well, it's Commander and Singleton is not in the format. So there's a couple of ways we can do this. We can use this as a tutor to hit the card that we're looking for to go off with that, or to find the Thassa's Oracle before we resolve it. But then we're going to need something else to empty our library. So Thassa's Oracle on the stack with a cast trigger, Tainted Pact, that will exile our entire library. Or this card here, Demonic Consultation. Consultation's 1. A lot of people like the Thassa's Oracle Consultation combo because it's only 3 mana to cast it. It's a black and 2 blue, so this is a win the game piece on the stack right here. Consultation, kind of the same as Tainted Pact in a way. It costs 1 less. It's instant speed. You name a card, then you look at the top 6 of your library and remove them from the game and reveal the next card to all players. So if you're looking for the Thassa's Oracle because you have the pact in hand, you can try and get it. But if it's in the top 6, you're going to be out of business really soon because you're going to lose your library and then you're not going to have the Oracle. So best off to cast this one behind the other. Remove the top 6, and then if you keep revealing until the named card comes up, you put it into your hand. If not, remove the cards from the game and keep revealing until you reveal all the cards from your library from the game, or the named card appears. So you can, and again, just like the Tainted Pact, you can name something that you're not going to find, and that pretty much guarantees you your win condition. Ad Nauseam. I never liked this card. This is the first time I'm ever playing it. I've had a copy for a long time, but I just don't like the art on it. It's really creepy. You've got a guy here with no arms and no legs. Really just turns my stomach. But it's a surprisingly strong card. It's 2 black and 3 and 8 instant speed. Best to cast this on your opponent's turn. You reveal the top card of your library and put it in your hand, lose life equal to its mana cost. So this might be bad with some of the higher cost spells like the Platinum Angel and the Memory Jar. This can really get expensive. But on this side of the table, we have 0, 1, and 2 mana spells over here. So we can pretty much fill our hand up. Everything over here is a land, so that's not going to cost us anything. We can try and find our combo piece with our Thassa's Oracle or anything else that we want to get into our hand. So the Ad Nauseam definitely a game-winning card in this deck if the mana cost is low enough. We'll see. I have never resolved it, so tonight might be the night. Gorilla Shaman. Here's a card I added to the deck. It's similar to Hammer Mage. I love this. It's Ragavan's uncle, and I play it because a lot of people have to take a second look at it if they're not familiar with vintage tables, where this card is referred to as the Mox Monkey. It's 1 red, and it's a 1/1 gorilla. It's got this ability on it, which is very powerful. It's from the Alliances block. XX and 1. Destroy target non-creature artifact with casting cost X. So they call it the Mox Monkey because, of course, 0 mana artifacts. X is 0, so you're basically playing 1 to blow up each 0 casting cost artifacts. And in Commander, we got plenty of them. We got the Crypt, Chrome Mox, Mox Diamond. You got Lion's Eye Diamond, Opal, and Amber, all costing 0. So if best not to turn 1 this with no mana to put into it, but turn 2 is really good. Turn 1 with a holding up a Sol Ring or any other mana sources is really good because he can start blowing up artifacts. Really put your opponent behind on board, and he's a 1/1 body. You don't have to tap him to activate this ability. So it just really all-around surprise, kind of a pet card of little Brody Alfonso. Bergie, Goddess Storytelling. I like Bergie. I haven't played too much with her, but she's a 3/3 for 1 red and 2. And whenever you cast a spell, you get to add red. So any mana rocks. This is something you want to use to keep chaining together spells. Get your storm count up because we have over here this other combo set of combo cards. We got the Underworld Breach and Brain Freeze. Those are the other backup, another combo that forms part of the deck. Bergie's going to let you keep going if you're breaching and you're trying to get more spells onto the stack to increase your storm count. Goblin Welder, of course, like I earlier mentioned, this is sort of a emergency break in the deck. Welders just to sit on board to give something some people a target, something to think about, and then of course if we can get the Platinum Angel into the graveyard while our opponent's trying to combo off by maybe discarding it to the Hammer Mage, or maybe it's already there. I just trying to find another discard engine at instant speed that'll work well with the welder to try and just surprise flatten out opponents' combos. I don't like casting spells to disrupt an opponent's combo piece. I'd rather use an activated ability. They're just much harder to deal with if you're activating a creature ability or an artifact ability when somebody's trying to combo off. Of course, putting the Platinum Angel into the game, into the battlefield while your opponent's trying to win, that's definitely going to stop him dead in his tracks. So the counterspell package, we got a couple. We've got the Pact and Negation. This one costs 0, counter target spell, but this one you have to pay for it, 5 mana. If you don't, you lose the game. But I'm reminding you, we could just stop the turn. If we can't pay for this, say we want to Pact and Negation on turn 2 or turn 3, you can even Pact and Negation on turn 1 if you've got the Sundial of the Infinite in play off your Soul Ring. So then you can 0 mana Pact, stop somebody from going off, maybe save the table, and then Sundial on your next turn. Then you're going to just pay the 2 and end the turn rather than paying the upkeep cost or not and losing the game. So the Pact of Negation, we can actually work around that. A card that I want to add to this deck, and I'm thinking about maybe making her commander, is Obeka, the Brute Chronologist. She's another interesting commander choice in Grixis that allows any player whose turn it is to end the turn instantly. So I think that would be fun. I like the end the turn effects. They seem to work well with the extra turn effects that we have in red. First Guardianship, free spell off a Rograk. This is just counter target non-creature spell. Cost you nothing. So another free counter spell. Force of Will. Free spells, very important in competitive Commander. I'm finding things can happen quite quickly, and you need free spells. So Force of Will, that goes in there. That's 3 free spells. If we can get a Mental Misstep, another free spell. Pay 2 life for this. I found myself kind of realizing the wrong target for this is Soul Ring, because a better target for it is Mystic Remora on turn 1. So I'm going to try and hold up the Mental Misstep, maybe give the turn 1 Soul Ring players a break, because I'd rather counter the turn 1 Mystic Remora. And of course, we got the mana drain in the deck too. This is going to give us some ramp. If we can cast it and counter something big, we're going to get some mana during our turn. Swan Song, this is another 1 mana counter spell. Hold 1 mana. You know, it's pretty easy to scrape up 1 mana sometimes. You know, 1 mana, Soul, Lotus Petal, or just 1 land. People don't expect the 1 mana counter spell, but this one counters an enchantment, instant, sorcery. Caster that spell gets a 2/2 bird. So the bird of defeat goes on the stack. Spell Snare. This might get cut. It's something I'm running rather than another permission spell. So I'm just going to sort of keep that in mind. This counters a spell with casting cost 2. Of course, if a lot of things are 2, right? What costs 2 in competitive play? Well, pretty much everything is 1 and 2 drops. Thassa's Oracle, the Sundial, Thassa's Oracle being something your opponents are probably going to play. And the Force of Negation, of course, the next best thing to Force of Will, can be free during your opponent's turn. All right, so the card everybody loves to hate. Of course, we're going to need to draw some cards now. Don't have a lot of reps in with this deck, so I do appreciate any comments that you folks can give me to tech it. Maybe tell me how you would run it, or why I'm not running. Ask me why I'm not running certain cards. But Rhystic Study, definitely a card that's played with the Mystic Remora as a card draw engine. It's very powerful. I mean, turn 1 Mystic Remora seems quite good. Rhystic Study even better. Cards that just changed the game development so quickly that it's hard not to play them if you're playing blue. Chain of Vapor, this is instant speed. You get to return a non-land permanent to owner's hand and put a permanent that put a permanent that controller may sacrifice a land and then they can copy the spell. So one mana flicker. Demonic Tutor, because we need a good strong tutor package. Demonic Tutor, Grim Tutor, Vampiric Tutor, all three black tutors. And I'm also running another card that can actually just win the game against the combo player before they even know they've lost. Praetor's Grasp. So I found this card pretty interesting. If you can suit your opponent onto a certain deck, maybe they're playing Thassa's Oracle, or they're playing Breach, or they're playing another two-card combo deck. The Praetor's Grasp can just stop them in their tracks. It's 2 black and 1. Search your opponent's library for a card, exile it face down, then you may shuffle their library, and then look and play that card as though it remains exiled. If it's their combo piece, then exile is the right place. Just leave it in exile and then let them figure it out. See if they notice that if they shuffle their deck or they fetch, if they can find out what it is you took, maybe they'll leave them scratching their head trying to find out where their combo piece is. Of course, if you want to be greedy, you can always take their combo piece and try and use it against them, I guess. Snap. I was running Isochron Scepter. I've got it over here on the side. It's debatable whether or not I want to run the Isochron Scepter. It can put Snap goes right on it, but I'm thinking there's some better targets, maybe like the Final Fortune. If you can try and get that together with the Sundial, you can loop it and make infinite turns. So the Sundial with the Final Fortune, and perhaps the Isochron Scepter makes infinite turns, and then you can basically win from there. So I don't know if I'm going to cut Snap, return target creature to owner's hand, untap 2 lands. So this is basically a free spell if you can cast it. It buffs your storm count if you're going to be going off and brain freezing somebody. It resets a couple of lands, fixes up your mana base, lets you play again. So the Isochron Scepter, kind of on the fence about it. And now we need a good wheel package. So from another Rog side player, he was telling me the best thing you want to do is get your commander on the battlefield, drop some rocks, and try and wheel right away. So drawing cards, really important in this type of build. With Rog side, Wheel of Fortune, um, all players discard their hands and draw 7 new cards. I was even considering a card named McGrim, which makes opponent take a couple damage every time they discard a card. Windfall, this discards cards, and then everybody draws cards equal to the number of cards drawn this way. And Days of Undoing, another card that we can use to maybe abuse the end of turn effect. Say we're going to die to Final Fortune. If you can Days Undoing on that extra turn, and then you can draw, you won't actually die during that end step. So Days Undoing can actually be a pretty good upside for being able to end the turn. And that's sort of a bit of a theme that I'm trying to go with here. Hence why I really want to play a copy of Obeka. Time Twister, this is the original wheel card. This one doesn't go to the exile pile like Days Undoing does. Wheel of Fortune fills the graveyard. This one resets everybody's library and graveyard. So if people are getting too carried away in their graveyards, this is really good to reset their graveyard. Power Artifact, that can go on our Grim Monolith right here. And then all of a sudden we've got an infinite colorless mana generation. It's Grim Monolith will tap for 3, and then we can pay just 2 to untap it. But we got to have something to spend it on. So I don't really yet have, maybe even like a Dragon Engine or something with fire breathing for colorless mana that I can kind of get in there and make a bunch of mana in order to close out a game, take an opponent down. Nice to be able to get a kill with the infinite mana combo. Gamble, another tutor card. And this card I really like, another head scratcher, Cave In. It's basically Pyroclasm, but it's a free spell, sorcery speed. You can remove a red card in your hand rather than paying its mana cost. It deals 2 damage to each creature and each player. So little mana dorks, elves, Collector Oof's a real pain in the butt and hard to deal with. So Cave In, I think, is in the deck to try and get rid of some of those pesky 1/1s or if somebody's going too wide. Another Talisman of Creativity. This is the Talisman package. Flusterstorm. It doesn't seem very good against Flusterstorm, and it's another 1 mana blue counterspell. It can be good to an extent if someone's storming off. It can stop them. It's not good against another Flusterstorm, but C'est la vie. Let's see how it goes. Courtesy of Dual Brain, here's the Mystical Tutor. So El Tutore Mystico. This one found its way into my possession after a redemption or a very cool giveaway. Um, yeah, it was flea market repacks. That's right. This was my big hit. So that I didn't have one before. So it's gone in the deck. Deflecting Swat, another free spell. This is one that is free off of Rograk. If you got your commander, you can just misdirect a spell and choose new copies for that target. Displacer Kitten. I've got a copy of Fury that I'm hoping to pick up tonight. I want to try and maybe balance the Fury with the Displacer Kitten and maybe some 0 mana or some cheap rocks. If I can storm off with a Fury on board, the Displacer Kitten is going to blink him a few times, get me some triggers, blow some stuff up. Excuse me, get rid of some 1/1s. And the Cat Beast is cute. It's a threat. Hopefully, what do you think? Should I keep the kitten or should I get rid of the kitten altogether? Some more mana generation. We got Dark Ritual. Opposition Agent, it's a 3/2 beater. It's really quite good. This is the one that nerfs people from searching libraries. So you best to hold this up and flash it in when somebody's trying to fetch, shock, or tutor. Then you can go ahead and basically get yourself another tutor. Ideas Unbound, draw 3, discard 3. Seems okay. I haven't tried it yet, never played it, but drawing 3 always seems pretty powerful. And then in a deck where we want some stuff in our graveyard, maybe we're going to discard that Platinum Angel or discard a memory jar or something we're going to welder back. If we have our welder on board, this works just great for us. Beseech the Mirror. You can bargain for this. You can even bargain for the One Ring because it's gets you a 4-drop pretty cheap. Put it on the battlefield. This is another tutor. It's 4 mana. It's a little expensive. It can do some work though. We've also got a copy of Underworld Dreams. This is to go with the wheel package that we have. A lot of people are getting greedy with Bowmasters these days, drawing lots of cards. So this is another way. Goes well with this card, Shouldered, too. So that's another way to make them pay 1 or take a damage if they're going to draw extra cards. And then Shouldered, I can't seem to cut her because she's just so good. And she sits there menacingly looking at your opponents as a 4/5 and daring them to draw extra cards because she can take the life totals down pretty quickly. Underworld Dreams, Last Chance, and then the last free spell of the deck is the Deadly Rollick. Just picked up the Deflecting Swat and the Guardianship and this card before the holidays. So that's my commander deck. So Tech My Deck, everybody. I'm going to go give it a shot tonight. Hopefully you folks, I can give you some results, but hopefully you folks like this video. Give me some suggestions if I'm doing something wrong or if you got something better or maybe something you like to see or maybe, hey, way to go, Brody. You're doing it just right. I like it. Keep it just the way it is. Thanks again. This is Brody Alfonso, and this is Tech My Deck.